Jordan Tower with JT News. Make sure you slap a like on this for me. Well, JEEZY recently got on the radio and had an argument with a radio personality about hip-hop being dead and Nas saying hip-hop is dead.
I don't think hip-hop is dead at all. It's a new story. It's a new movement.
You know, I can say that the concept of hip-hop is dead. Okay. It's not just talking about one area of hip-hop and as far as struggles, street hustling, and coming up, which is a respected factor.
You got Nas coming back saying hip-hop is dead. Who is he to say hip-hop is dead?
Say like it right that, there.
I ain't killing it. What you said, he not gonna respect his craft. He not gonna respect mine.
And he took this personally and kind of said, like, you know, like, I'm still in hip-hop. I'm hip-hop. And he doesn't feel like Nas is respecting his craft. And I kind of agree with this. See, there's a lot of different ways to look at this. And I'm going to get a lot of different views from you guys in the comments here. But this is the way I look at it. Okay, so like when hip-hop was first started, it meant one thing. And this is one thing that was good. This is a lot of things that was going on in the streets at that time. We're talking like 70s, 80s here. You know, there was graffiti, there was b-boying, then there was MCing, you know, so all this was a part of hip-hop. And part of the MCing was like rapping about your environment and things you're going through, and then also telling a story. And then you had like battling. So like people would battle each other and try to tear each other down by doing research on the other person and kind of try to tear them down with lyrics. And it was kind of like poetry with a beat, you know? So it evolved, obviously, over the years. Just like any genre of music, it evolves over time, you know? So, you know, like there's been disco, there's alternative rock, there's, you know, grunge. There's tons of genres of music that evolve over time because you have new generations that come in and have their interpretation of the music and want to create, because music is personal, and they create music that is personal to them, and it just evolves. So when Nas says hip-hop's dead, his type of hip-hop's dead, where people are, you know, Nas came up in the 90s, and like in the 90s, you know, was very deep with the lyrics and vocabulary and metaphors and storytelling, and it really had to have some substance to it. And then like kind of like there's hip hop and there's rap, and I feel like this is where kind of like rap came in. So like you had Mobb Deep, still very hip hop, respecting the culture and staying true to the roots, but a more street element came in the 90s, in the late 90s with Wu-Tang and everything. And then it kind of kept evolving into the 2000s with the 50 Cents. And, you know, I know I'm leaving out a lot of artists, but, you know, I'm not going to get super into detail about this because this is so personal to so many people. But then, you know, JEEZY came in like mid-2000s, and, you know, like a trap hop kind of came in where the drug dealers started rapping in the 90s into the 2000s. And more like aggressive element came in. This is more rap music, and this is what was going on in the streets, you know, because you're going to rap about your story, and some people's story is drug dealing and murder and you know, all that kind of stuff, and you know, egotistical rap, you know, and that's JEEZY. And that's JEEZY. JEEZY's talking about trapping. He's talking about his story, growing up with nothing, selling crack. You know, cop confrontations, all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, so it's offensive to him when Nas says hip-hop is dead, but he's not specific to saying his kind of hip-hop's dead. Like, look at now. Now you got Lil Yachty, you got Uzi Vert. And we can't completely relate to them. When you get older and you grew up on Nas and you grew up on Wu-Tang and then you grew up on JEEZY, you know, it's hard to relate to the Lil Yachty's and everything, but that's their kind of hip-hop. So you can't say hip-hop's dead. It might be dead for you, but for them, that's their hip-hop rap, you know? So it pertains to generations, you know? Like, it's what you can relate to. Like, you know, 10 through 25 can relate to Lil Yachty, you know, and Uzi Vert and all those kind of guys. But, you know, you still got your Little Dickies and Kendrick Lamar's, Drake's and everything that, you know, still have a lot of substance. So I see where Jeezy's coming from, and, you know, then he started going into, like, oh, Nas ain't a street dude. He ain't living his raps.
Ain't nobody asking you to agree with me.
I'm saying hip-hop is alive.
Nobody
Nas been on the block.
Did I say that?
Nas has street credibility. Is any of Nas homies in the feds? Okay, then. I respected my craft, though.
I never said I disrespected your craft. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, that's what you're saying.
No.
You know, and this is more Jeezy getting on the defensive side, and I will be defensive too, because, you know, think about it. Jeezy is he lived the raps he talks about. He put his life on the line. So it's very personal to him. And when someone kind of attacks you, you're going to get defensive like that. Now, I think he still had a good conversation about it and was saying his point without getting all heated and everything. He was just making his point. And the woman was making her point, like, nah, this is her hip-hop. And she was saying hip-hop's dead to her because it's hip-hop's going more of like a bragging direction and, you know, a lot less substance. You know, they're not talking about much now versus like 90s hip hop, which is fine. You know, it's just like, it just evolves over time. So do I feel Jeezy on this point where he says Nas ain't no street dude? I mean, Nas grew up in the streets, but he chose not to live that life, you know, and that's fine. And he rapped about the environment he grew up in, though, so I can't completely agree with that because Nas did live through in Queensbridge. You see rap, you see drug dealing, murder, you know, people hanging out, dope fiends. You see all that kind of stuff. You know, I've been there and experienced it myself when I was working with Mobb Deep back in the early 2000s, you know. So that's just what it is, you know. I mean, is Jeezy wrong? No. Is this woman wrong? No. You know, it's your perspective. So, you know, we're entering into that's why when people try to knock down Lil Yachty and everything, you gotta put things in perspective. You know, like, hey, this is what the youth likes right now. So, and they obviously like it. I mean, millions of people are listening to it. So this is what it is. You know, if you don't like it, don't listen to it. That's how I look at it. I don't hate on the new generation. You can't. These guys, I mean, we were young one time and we were listening to Nas, Wu-Tang and everything, and maybe our parents didn't understand that stuff because they grew up during a different time, you know. So that's just what it is, man. Tell me what you guys think below. Was Jeezy out of line for talking about Nas and disagreeing with him, or, you know, do you agree with it, and do you kind of have my perspective on everything? What's good, everybody? This is Jordan Tower. Make sure you click above to subscribe. Make sure you click here for more news. And make sure you follow me on all social media, Jordan Tower TV.